What's up, everyone? Brian here from Ride Your Money Wave. I'm so excited because one of my Ride Your Money Wave listeners over on the podcast actually emailed me and is looking for some advice. Now, I love helping people. That's why I went into teaching, and I teach economics on the high school level. But on top of that, I give out my email, which I realize I haven't done on this YouTube channel yet. So I'm going to put it right below. So if you have any questions that I haven't answered yet, or if you'd like me to do a review of your finances and give you some non-binding personal opinion, entertainment only advice on what I think you should do with your situation or with your money, I am happy to do so. So, a gentleman by the name of Colin emailed me and he gave me a rundown. He said that he found the podcast, that he's listening to it now. In fact, tell you what, I'll just put his email over on the left. You can read it with me. But I was absolutely tickled that he reached out. He said, first, I'd like to say thank you for the gift of Ride Your Money Wave. You've helped me organize my thoughts around money management and wealth attainment and ignited a desire to finally develop a positive relationship with my money. Colin, let me tell you, good for you, my friend. You are going to be doing the heavy lifting. I am simply just kind of encouraging you, being your cheerleader from afar. But the fact that you have this kick in the pants, that you have this burning desire now to start developing a positive relationship with money, and it's not, hey, I want to become rich. It's not, oh, I want a yacht. Oh, I want a Ferrari. It's you start to see the holistic approach, the effect that it's going to have on many aspects in your life. And so this isn't just about becoming wealthy. This is about changing your life, taking control of it from a financial perspective so you can take control of it from a time perspective as well. It says, I do not fit the mold of your target audience. I'm 35 years old. I was never taught or actively pursued to learn about money. Listen, Colin, you are not alone. Let me tell you, a lot of people that I talk to are a little bit older, and 35 isn't even really that old. There's still plenty of time for you to become financially independent and to become wealthy. So don't beat yourself up. Some episodes are tough listen because I get so angry at myself, my parents, the educational system as a whole for not prioritizing personal financial health. I've pledged to strong arm every young person to listen to Ride Your Money Wave. Thanks, buddy. All right, so he goes on to say that he's not in horrible shape, but he has next to zero net worth. Now, Colin, I got to tell you, at the age of 35, to have next to zero net worth is a little bit concerning. You are behind the eight ball, but the good news is that I fully believe that you'll be able to quickly catch up and even position yourself within the top, 10% of Americans because you have the curiosity and the desire to. You understand that to get ahead, you're going to have to put in the work. You're going to have to make sacrifices. There is no get rich quick scheme. And in fact, it's quite the opposite. You're going to have to live like you've never lived before and dedicate all of your extra time to earning more income and then utilizing that income to buy assets to start developing your own money wave. See what I did there? Okay. So here is his rundown. These are his numbers. His 9-to-5 salary, he makes $56,000 a year. He has a side hustle catering as a bartender for an approximately $5,000 a year. He has $10,000 in debt, which he is paying off right now. His monthly living expenses are $2,000. And he goes on to kind of clarify the way the 401k works, so we'll skip that for a second. He has $0 in his Roth IRA. That is kind of a yellow flag where it is drawing my attention to it. We got to take care of that right away. Real estate. As I mentioned, I'd like to buy a multi-unit property to live in and rent out. We call that house hacking, and that is a great way to lower your monthly expenses. But I think what's even more important, Colin, is the timing that you are looking at doing this. Because making those sacrifices, living a uncomfortable life or less than ideal life where maybe you have to, share your house with roommates or live in a duplex and your neighbors are a little bit noisy, that stuff is easier to handle when you're a little bit younger and before you are married and before you have kids. So, advice to everyone out there: live as cheaply as you can for as long as you can and invest the difference. Invest your savings. If you do that in your 20s, yeah, it's not going to be as enjoyable, but let me tell you, by the time you're 30, 40, 60, you are definitely going to be counting your blessings, because now you can buy rental properties, you can own a house on the beach somewhere, you can live life according to your own terms. So I'm a big proponent of house hacking. I'm a big proponent of living as cheaply as you can for really as long as you can and utilizing that additional cash flow. It says here, last but not least, what are your thoughts on this model and what are your thoughts on an FHA loan? Shared costs: I have a girlfriend and we split things around 60-40. So Colin, first, thank you for reaching out. Congrats on stepping into the driver's seat of your finances, but we need a little bit more information, because the number one rule of real estate, which is one of the things that you want to do here, is location, 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 right? I don't know enough about your scenario to really give you the best possible advice. So I reached out, I sent Colin another email asking him for some clarification, and this is what he sent back. Let's take a look. He said, after reading the initial email, I think my words misled the structure. My current employer offers 8% and matches up to 5%, and he's maxed this out. So Colin has about $4,000 in his 401k. So his investable assets for retirement is $4,000 at the age of 35. Definitely below what we want to see. What I want to do is take a second to kind of give you a few rules of thumb here. So Colin is 35 years old. At 30, you want 1 times your salary saved by the age of 30 in terms of your net worth. You want about 2x your salary saved by the age of 35. So we see that Colin, who makes $54,000 a year, has a net worth of probably actually zero or negative because he has that credit card debt, but he has $4,000 of investable assets. Ideally, we'd want to see at the age of 35 about $100,000 saved in his investable assets. So Colin, we've got some work for you to do. Now, there is some good news here. If we take a look at some data collected in 2017, the median net worth of someone at the age of 35 to 44, so you're right on that brink. You got to imagine 9 years later, they're going to have more money. So we can report two different sums here, but 35 to 44 median net worth is right around $60,000, with the average net worth being $288,000. Now, why the discrepancy? Well, because if Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos walks into a room, on average, we would all become billionaires, right? But the median takes the highest, the lowest, puts it in a line, and picks the person in the middle. So that's a more appropriate way to view net worth. And so your net worth at 35 years old of being close to zero, we see that you're behind the 8 ball, but you can ramp that up relatively quickly if you're willing to work hard and make some sacrifices. Less than 35, median net worth just $11,000. Now, for all you super savers out there, because that's what we want to do, right? We want to get you aggressive about saving and investing. This is great, but I don't want to compare myself to median. I don't even want to compare myself to average. What I think is really helpful is actually comparing myself to the top 10%, top 5%, top 1%. And for that, I strongly suggest that you spend some time taking a look at a website that absolutely changed my perspective. When I was a little bit younger, I was comparing myself to the median, and while I was above it, I said, "Oh, that's great," you know, but I didn't understand like where I was relative to everyone else. So I went on financialsamurai.com. Now, I'm not getting paid for this. There's no affiliate link or anything like that. It's just a helpful website that I spent some time as I was growing up looking at when I was really starting to make financial decisions to delay instant gratification today so that I could put more money towards my future. Financialsamurai.com had some great statistics and data in order to help me understand where I was relative to that top 5%, top 1%. And what it did is the same thing that it's doing for Colin, which is it kicked me in the butt and got me getting really serious about saving and investing. So, Colin, you live in Philadelphia. You've got $4,000 in your 401k. We took a look at some of the duplexes in the area, which we'll do in a second. Not exactly thrilled about them. You are renting right now to the tune of about $1,350, and you have $4,000 in liquid assets. All right, you gave us a lot of data, Colin. Let's unpack this a little bit, okay? Here's what I would do. We need to prioritize and we need to come up with a game plan. So you have $10,000 of debt, and some of it is student loan debt at 4%. Ideally, we want to get this down to zero. We want to get it down to zero for two reasons. One, you don't want it hanging over your head, right? No one likes paying debt. And it's hard to grow when you're trying to pull an anchor behind you, right? It's hard to sprint when you've got a parachute on your back. And so what we want to do is we want to get rid of that debt. And reason number one is so that you can start clean and fresh. But the other reason is it's going to help your credit score. And when you go to apply for a loan, that higher credit score is going to get you a cheaper interest rate. So really, you're saving money in two ways. You're saving money on the interest that you're paying for the debt, and you're going to be saving money on the interest that you would be paying if you decide to buy a rental property. Now, once that debt is paid off, the next thing I want you to do is to invest and max out your Roth IRA. And the reason being is because that is tax-free retirement. I think every person needs to have a Roth IRA, and you need to be contributing to that first and foremost. So those two things alone, paying off $10,000 in debt plus $6,000 in savings, that's going to take you a little bit of time. I would imagine that's going to take you a solid year, if not maybe 18 months. And the reason why I'm giving you that is because that is going to force you to be fiscally disciplined. That's going to teach you financial discipline. And Colin, what you're going to experience is you're going to experience joy in your sacrifice. Okay? Something happens when you start aligning your efforts towards a goal that is bigger than you, is that the sacrifice, the pain, the suffering, you start to get joy out of that. It sounds weird, but that's what happens once you start building momentum. So when you write off, when you sign that last check and send it in to pay off that debt, it's going to feel incredible. When you max out that Roth IRA, you're going to take a deep breath in, puff out your chest. You're going to feel so proud about yourself because you know that you're doing the right thing and that your future self is going to be thanking you this moment. So those are the first two things that I want to see you do. You're already maxing out the match of your 401k. Congrats, keep doing it. But where I have concern is the fact that you want to get involved in real estate and you only have $4,000 worth of cash liquid assets. I'm not making fun of you, Colin, but $4,000 is going to be difficult to even close on a house. I mean, closing costs are going to be $3,000 right then and there. So you can't really go shopping for much with $4,000. And you have a decision to make here. And that decision is really, how much risk do you want? Could you go and get an FHA loan? Sure. It requires much less to be put down. But at $4,000, you have to put down 3.5%. You're going to be buying a house that's $100,000. How nice of a house in Philadelphia can you buy for $100,000? Even if you found that house that could work, what I'm concerned with are all the unexpected costs that you are not acknowledging. A hot water heater breaking, a furnace breaking, a new roof, a skipped month worth of rent, your tenant doesn't pay. What's the opportunity cost of holding on to this? I looked at some of those houses in the listings that you sent me, and they're a little bit less than desirable. And so you have this big risk that you're looking at here. Could you do it? Possibly, yes. Would your money be leveraged? And so if that house appreciates $4,000 over the next year, you just doubled your money? Sure. But I think that there are so many more hidden costs and potential downfalls that will take money out of your rental property. I would much rather see you save and invest and focus on growing your top of the line to make more money than to start buying real estate. One of the big red flags that I also had about where you want to look for real estate is that you're looking at South Jersey and where your family is, and you also live in Philadelphia. Here's the deal. If you have to drive an hour and a half to, I don't know where you live and how far South Jersey is, but if you have to drive 45 minutes, an hour, because the pilot light on a hot water heater went out, anything that time is money, right? But anything that you decide not to do, you have to pay someone else to do it, chipping into your profits. So this thing, it's too much risk with too little capital to handle anything if it were to go wrong. Your nose is barely above water, right? One more inch of water and now you are drowning. And so to add on additional debt and to add on additional risk, I don't like seeing it. I'm at this stage in life where if I'm going to buy a rental property, I want to put like 50% down, anywhere between like 33 and 50%, so that I have enough equity built up into it and that my cash flow is positive with a very big cushion of margin straight from day one. And I don't see that happening with these properties in this scenario that you are in. So, Colin, I hate to burst your bubble or to break the bad news to you, but I would hold off on investing in one of these houses. Instead, what I would do is I would read. I would have open and honest conversations with your girlfriend about where you want to go in life and how you want to change your financial habits, and is she supportive of those changes and how they're going to affect her as well. You need to be a team in this endeavor. Trust me. You need to be a team, okay? And she'll benefit from it too, right? Maybe she'll learn more financial discipline, or you'll start helping her invest and, build her future as well. But I think reading, understanding more about the stock market, understanding more about index funds, traditional IRAs versus Roth IRAs, 401ks, all that stuff. Learn the rules of the game. This is advice for everyone. Learn the rules of the game. Think about playing football. If I were to run straight up the middle every single play, would I get a lot of yards? Would I score a lot of points? No, of course not. But if I learn different plays and those plays are fair and follow the rules of the game, and sometimes I pass and sometimes I pitch and sometimes I do a flea flicker and sometimes I punt and sometimes I go for a field goal, and I'm assessing my risk on each one of these. It's fourth and inches. How risky is this? What's the likelihood of success? If I approach the way I play a game of football the same way I approach my money, guess what? I will gain more yards and score more touchdowns and get more points on the board, and I will make more money as well. So learn the rules of the game, Colin. Learn the rules of how much you can invest. Learn the rules of taxes and what you can write off and things like that. Okay? And in doing so, more avenues to make money are going to be opening up for you. And all while you're doing this, and I understand that this is a tall order, but all while you're doing this, you also have to be focusing on how you can make more money, in your career. Saving $3 on a latte is great, but figuring out a way to earn $30 more every time you pick up the phone is much, much better. Don't get discouraged, because you have plenty of time to not only save for retirement, but also retire a millionaire. So what I want to do now is show you some actionable steps that you can take in order to set yourself up for retirement. Now, if you aren't doing it already, and this is tough to do, okay, this is why your first decision is your most important decision. Because if you make that first decision and it includes saving 15-20% of your income, now you're automatically living below your means, and you are going to build your life on that 80% income assumption. But if you haven't done so already, you are going to really have to dismantle your life that you've been building for arguably the past 13 years, right? If you become an adult around 21, 22 years old. That's going to be painful, okay? Not going to deny it. That's going to be painful. But once you make that adjustment, and maybe you simplify your life a little bit, we can start to reallocate that money towards investing. And that's what I want to do with you today. So you are 35 years old here, and you are going to retire around the age of 67. That's giving you 32 years to start saving and investing, plenty of time. You have you have $4,000 already saved, but let's just stick to your Roth IRA right now. So you have $0 saved. And let's assume that you make the sacrifices, you pick up that side hustle. I remember you saying that you bartend and you make an extra $5,000 a year. Great. That money is going to be going towards your retirement. Let's find an extra $1,000 somewhere else. And let's assume that you're going to max out at $6,000. At an 8% return, that's going to put you at $800,000 towards your retirement. Not bad. That's certainly more than the average Joe, right? But Colin, for guys like me and you who are in their mid-30s, we need a little bit more than that. We probably need twice as much, if not, if we really want to be comfortable, maybe even 3 times as much money. So we got to bump this up. So let's keep that $500 a month after taxes going into our Roth IRA, and instead, let's look at your 401k. And now your 401k has that little bit of a match that kind of kicks into it, right? And let's assume that you are going to be able to contribute an extra, let's say $300 a month. Doing so is going to give you an extra $500,000. So now you're going to be at $1.2, $1.3 million. At a 4% withdrawal rate, you're going to be able to pull over $40,000 a year. Not bad. There's hope in this, right? You delay your Social Security benefits till the full 70 years old, and now suddenly you're getting an extra, $1,300 a month. Now you're living on 50 grand a year. It's not a super comfortable lifestyle, but let me tell you, It's better than a lot of Americans if you're retiring with 1.2, $1.3 million. Colin, you are going to have to kick your own butt, man. Okay? But the good news is that the ship is still in the harbor. You've got to take a running start to jump off that dock and start swimming hard and chasing that ship, because once that ship is out of harbor, there's really not much hope. And the good news is that ship, that retirement ship, is still in harbor. You can catch it, but you're going to have to do a good amount of work. All right, Colin, I just want to double check my math and make sure that the advice that I'm giving you is actually manageable. Now, I don't know all of your numbers, but you did tell me how much your rent is, and you did tell me that you're splitting things about 60-40 with your girlfriend. You make $59,000 per year, and we said that we're going to contribute $300 a month to your 401k, or at least for $300. Maybe your boss is going to chip in some, but that's what we ran earlier. So let's subtract $3,600 out of this. Let me do that again. There we go. So you're at $55,400. Now let's take about 30% taxes out, 20% federal, maybe you have some city taxes, some state taxes. So let's multiply that by 0.7, and you're left with $38,000 and change to live on. Now we're going to take out $6,000 to go towards your Roth IRA, and you have $32,780 a year to live on. Divide that by 12, you've got $2,700 per month. I think you told me that your living expenses, your rent, was about $1,450. So that leaves you another $1,300 to live on. And let's divide that by 4 just so we can get a weekly amount. That's $320 a week. Now, I don't know if you have a car, if you drive public transit, whatever, but if you have $1,200 worth of wiggle room in your budget, remember, we got to take care of that debt, right? So that's what that should be going towards. But once that debt is paid off, if you still have $1,200 a month worth of wiggle room in your budget, you should be able to make this happen, okay? So I do think, using some back of the napkin math estimates, that this advice that I'm giving you, this game plan that we're coming up with, is manageable. Pay off those student loans, pay off that debt, right? Max out your Roth IRA, skip that FHA loan in that house for a while, because we want to buy in a place that's going to appreciate and have a great location with good tenants. Read, invest, and invest in yourself. Grow that top of the line so that you make more money, and with more money, then some of these decisions are going to become easier and easier and easier. Then you can start buying rental properties. Then you can start house hacking. And I think what you might find is that owning stocks, index funds, and watching that grow is a lot easier and more enjoyable than answering tenant phone calls at 2 in the morning because a pilot light went out. So, Colin, I hope that this advice helped. If anyone else has a question for me, leave that information down below, or I should say, you can email me at my email right down below there, and I'm happy to answer. So, if you haven't already, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this with your friends, and let's all become wealthy together. Till next time, take care and go out and live your best life.